chip away at that. Romans chapter 3, and I'm just reading from verse 21. And Paul says this, but now, a righteousness from God, right standing with God, apart from law, apart from a principle that says I have to do it, I have to try harder, I have to be better, apart from all that, has been made known, to which the law and the prophets testify. This righteousness, this right standing with God, this declaration that God's happy with me, that He loves me, that He embraces me, comes through, this is the Wilson expanded version, comes through faith in Jesus Christ. It has nothing to do with what I've done or haven't done. It comes when I put my faith in Jesus Christ. And it's to all who believe. There's no difference. All have sinned, like Jew, Gentile, all fall short of God's glory, and are justified, are declared righteous freely by the grace of God. Not what I've done, by the grace of God, through the redemption that came by Christ. I was placed into Christ. I appropriated His precious blood. I put my faith in Him, and He set me aside, and He declared me righteous. And then it says God presented Him. God presented His Son as a sacrifice of atonement, which is an awful kind of wording, trying to get away from this thought. He was what they call a propitiatory sacrifice, and this means that the wrath and anger of another because of sin was poured out on this sacrifice. So Jesus bore all the anger of God when He went to the cross. He bore all the anger of God. And so the anger of God was completely drained away so the love of God could be freed and released. God presented Him as a sacrifice of atonement through faith in His blood. So He did it to demonstrate justice in His forbearance. He had left the sins committed beforehand unpunished, saying in Old Testament times He hadn't brought His wrath and fury on people. He didn't strike them dead the way we want to when they say something bad about us. But just saying God was merciful because He knew there would come a time when His Son would die for us. Verse 26, He did it to demonstrate His justice because the sin had been committed, and because the sin had been committed, God in justice had to bring a judgment over that sin. So He sent His Son into the world. His Son bore that judgment and drained the anger and drained all the wrath of God away completely, so as to be just, and the one who justifies, and the word justified means declares righteous those who have faith in Jesus. So you know, do you sometimes you have an extra sensitive conscience and you do something and you think, God, I'm the worst sinner ever. God, how could you ever forgive me for this? And you go through all this, and the Father is pointing to His Son and saying, my Son has borne the anger. I'm not angry with you. My Son has borne the anger. And it's like I'm taking the anger away from Jesus, and I'm saying, no, be angry with me, would make me feel, how ridiculous. The Son, Jesus, bore the anger of God, that the love of God could shine forth. And it wasn't that God had all this anger pent up and that had to go before He could love. He had anger and He had love at the same time. Like when our parents, how many of you ever had a parent get angry with you? Oh, how many didn't? Goodness. And see, hopefully it didn't mean they didn't love you, but it meant that there were the two feelings, if I use that word, the two emotions were happening at the same time. They loved you, but they were angry with you. They didn't have to get rid of the anger so they could love you. They loved you anyway, even when they were angry with you. They loved you. How much more so God? He didn't have to get rid of the anger so He could love us. He loved us even when the anger was being poured out upon His Son, as His Son bore our sin. And then He could declare us righteous. I'll look at one other scripture and then we'll bring it to a close. 1 John chapter 4. Chipping away at the thought, I have to try harder. I have to try harder. 1 John chapter 4, verse 10. Verse 10 says this. This is love. Not that we love God, but that He loved us and sent His Son to be, and it's the same wording, the atoning sacrifice for our sins. The same thought that the Son bore all the anger of God at our sin. And it's not that we loved Him, He initiated. He loved us first of all. It's not that He had to pour out the anger so He could love us. Even while the anger was being poured out, He loved us at the same time. And so the next verse says, dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. So it's saying, don't wait till they're good enough. Don't wait till they try hard. Don't wait till they beg and plead and grovel at your feet. Love them. Because God didn't wait till you grovelled at His feet. He loved you straight out. Love them straight out. Don't wait till they're good enough. They're never going to be good enough. God didn't wait till you were good enough. He loved you when you were a rascal. He loved you when you were a naughty little person. When you were a ratbag. I'm trying to think of wording that's appropriate. He loved you. Put our last slide up. I love this statement. Close up. What comes into mind when we think about God is the most important thing about us. I find that an incredible statement even there. What comes into mind when we think about God is the most important thing about us. Were we able to extract from any man, I'll put in all women, a complete answer to the question, what comes into your mind when you think about God, we might predict with certainty the spiritual future of that man. Isn't that incredible? How you think about God will determine your spiritual destiny and your spiritual future. So I don't mind chipping away at it. I want to change something in you. I don't want you to be a people who just keep trying and then failing and trying and failing and trying and failing. God's sitting back saying, what are you doing? Wasn't what my son did good enough? Wasn't it sufficient? You didn't have to grovel at my feet. I loved you. I'm simply asking you to love others the same way. God's a good God. God has billions of bananas. How many of you is banana probably your favourite fruit? Probably. That's probably not the problem. I don't see as many of them these days. Shame about that. God has billions. God is a generous God. We just pray, Father, you're a generous God. Father, I think how in Ephesians it talks about your grace. In chapter 1, verse 8, I think it is, it said you lavished your grace on us. You didn't give us a little bit, you poured it out like it's overflowing. It's almost like we're drowning in the grace of God because you're so generous. You didn't give us a little, you gave us an overflow. God is a generous God. You're an amazing God. So, change, confront attitudes that we have in our head that where we don't think like this, where we think we have to try harder, we have to be better. Not realizing our starting point is Jesus has taken all that away. So we stand before you knowing that you really, really love us and that you're really, really generous to us. Amen. Musicians, would you come?